name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible published by John Wiley & Sons, the most comprehensive book ever written on the subject of social media. And today we are here with David Treadwell. How cool is this? Corporate Vice President of Microsoft Live Platform, and we're going to be speaking about, of course, Microsoft Live and all things Microsoft and social media. So, David, it's great to have you here today. Thank you.
Thanks much, Lon. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is totally cool. Let's get started. David, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at Microsoft?
Sure. I run what's called the Live Platform Services Group up here at Microsoft, and our mission is to basically build out the services platform infrastructure. We are big believers at Microsoft on the value and importance of services moving forward. And what we find over and over is that as the services world matures, there are a lot of platform opportunities where platform providers can give infrastructure to developers to build applications that make it a lot easier for those developers to connect their users, to get stuff done with mass-scale services. And so social media plays a huge role in that because a lot of the key services scenarios that are evolving in the industry and in the ecosystem really revolve around social media. So to sum it up, a platform for services with a special emphasis on a lot of social scenarios.
Wow, that's really a mouthful, my God.
It was a mouthful. It took me longer than I expected to say it all.
No, that's good. And because you really are offering a tremendous amount of services. I mean, some of the research and conversations that I've had with colleagues at Microsoft, I mean, we've got Admin Center, Alert, App Storage, Context, Feed Sync, Live Framework, Messenger, Photo Gallery Photos, Search, Silverlight Streaming, Spaces, Virtual Earth, Web Gadgets, Windows Live ID, and Writer, just to name a few of the services that you're offering.
Yeah, that's a pretty good enumeration. We got a lot been cooking on this stuff.
Holy moly. Well, can you speak to some of them and what some of the business applications are here?
Sure. So one of the things that we're finding more and more is that one of the values of a services platform in the social media scenarios is making it a lot easier for users to connect with other people, to connect with their data, to connect with all the different devices that they own. And so if you look at a lot of what we're doing in Windows Live and Live Mesh and some of the related efforts, it's really about building connections across all of these different currently islands. You know, today, if you have two different devices, it can be difficult to move data between those devices. If you want to communicate with your friends, there are ways to do it, but there are really barriers to communication that are very challenging. So especially with things like the Live Mesh project, what we have is the ability to synchronize data really well across devices and across people and across applications. And we think that that's going to just result in a real explosion of scenarios, people building applications that today we don't even anticipate. We can see a lot of the scenarios that are likely, but making it easy to bridge those islands will really enable all kinds of things for developers to provide to users in terms of experiences, scenarios, functionality, the rest of it.
Wow. And I was at the recent entrepreneurship conference, and Dan Willis, our Arizona representative from Microsoft, announced something called BizSpark. Is that part of this program as well?
Yeah, BizSpark is intended to basically help give developers support and resources for building on a lot of the services platform infrastructure. So it's more a program than a technology, but we're pretty excited about it as a way to facilitate development of a lot of these new platform initiatives.
So basically it's for small businesses to actually get partnered with Microsoft and use the Microsoft platform for the development of their product.
Yeah, exactly. Basically a catalyst for them to get going and hopefully see some of the benefits of what our platform provides and how they can provide great applications and services and offerings to their customers by leveraging the platform infrastructure that we have.
And that's a pretty good program. And for our listeners, please look into BizSpark because Microsoft is doing a really great job with this. You had mentioned something called Live Mesh. Can you talk about that? What does that mean?
Sure. Mesh is a project we started a couple years ago to blend the best aspects of services and client software. There's a ton that services do uniquely well. When you use a web service, there's no install step. You don't have to worry about roaming your data. You have high reliability of any data that's stored in that. So there's a lot of really compelling advantages to using services. But at the same time, we're big believers in the client has a lot of value as well. Some simple things like the ability to store data offline, or the ability to have control over your data because it's stored on machines that you own. The ability to provide really rich, immersive experiences by doing computation and storage physically close to the user. It reduces latency and has all kinds of other benefits. So what we see is the client also has kind of a special role to play in computing moving forward. So this is where Mesh comes in. What we want to do with Mesh is take the best of web services and the best of client computing and blend them in a way that enables developers and users to have the best possible experiences with their applications and their experiences. It's based a lot on the concept of synchronization. Mm-hmm. The idea is that you as a user can have your data in the cloud and on all your devices automatically synchronized around you. You don't have to worry about, do I have this file on this computer? The infrastructure handles that automatically. And if for some reason you're on a friend's computer or something like that, you can always use the cloud-backed storage to get at it. So by basing it on concepts like synchronization, enabling the best of services and the best of client software, we really think it'll be a significant piece of infrastructure, platform infrastructure, and some platform experiences that will really help drive the future of computing much more effectively.
And you mentioned something called the cloud. Now, I do a lot of traveling because I'm a professional speaker, so I'm in almost every one of the 50 states every year. And one of the things that really is annoying is being on the road and having to have access to something that's stored on my desktop that I don't carry on my laptop. And when I had a previous conversation with Dharmesh, what he was saying is, and you had mentioned the cloud as well. And for our listeners, can you explain a little bit about how you can put your data on the cloud and access it anywhere in the world and what the cloud is? Sure.
The concept of the cloud basically means open data centers. And data centers that we, Microsoft, run or other companies run. It's a more generic concept, not specific to Microsoft. But the cloud that Microsoft supports enables storage of data very easily. You can put files or all kinds of other data in the cloud. As an analogy, I bet most people will get, when you're using one of the web-based mail services like Hotmail, the emails are stored in the cloud, we say. So basically think of the cloud as the data centers that are keeping your data available and making it web accessible. On the scenario you described, you're always traveling, you're probably using several different computers at different times. Mm-hmm. That's the synchronization value prop of Mesh really comes in very clearly there, because what happens is, I personally use several different computers. I have a small laptop, I have a big laptop, I have a couple of desktop machines, and not having to worry about whether I have a given piece of data on any specific machine, that's really handy. I don't need to think, oh gosh, I'm about to go again on an airplane. Did I get all the files I want? No. Because it's synchronized automatically and also available in the cloud, I know that, wow, any data I really care about, no matter where I am, if I'm on a computing device, either one of mine or even somebody else's, I know I can get that data. So that's the class of scenario that we think users will find super compelling. It exists today in some scenarios broadly, like email. Often email clients synchronize on the client. Obviously, it stores it in the email server. But what we want to do is take those concepts and make them available to any kind of application scenario. So any sort of application can have that same attribute where the data is on all devices, shared trivially with other people, backed by the cloud, and therefore always accessible. See, and that's terrific, because just as you just said, I mean, that is really important to me, because I can't tell you how many times I'll be at 7 o'clock at night trying to put together a proposal on the road, and I have to call my wife and ask her to turn on my desktop and please email it, and to be able to have... Especially as devices proliferate. One thing we're really finding is that there are all these new form factors of devices, like netbooks is a good, relatively recent example. Super small, super cheap devices, but we also know that something like a netbook, while really handy in some scenarios, you probably don't want to use that as your main computer because the keyboard's a little small, the monitor's a little small. So people more and more are using multiple devices simultaneously, and it's a real hassle for people to keep their data up to date, synchronized across all these different devices. So we see tons and tons of opportunity in that problem space by making it just brain dead simple for having data be something that the user owns, not something that the device owns.
I love the way that you just put that the user owns it, not the device.
Yeah.
And again, another practical example is that when I write the book, I usually take my laptop and I go someplace quiet, but I want to be able to synchronize the laptop with my desktop because, first of all, I want a backup, which I guess a cloud is really great, is that you actually have a backup.
Yep, the cloud gives you redundant storage. That's a real nice part of it.
That's really a good part. Matter of fact, Dan Willis just had his laptop stolen, and he lost a tremendous amount of data.
Yeah, those kinds of scenarios are in photos. People today, we're all taking tons and tons of digital photos, and all too often I hear about scenarios from friends and family where the hard drive died, or like you just said, a laptop got lost, and they lost all these photo memories. I mean, that's something that's irreplaceable usually. And so, being able to store redundant copies is real important to a lot of people.
That's true. I just backed up 5,000 of my photographs on DVD, and then when I went to reload the DVDs, they weren't recognizable.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
So to have this cloud, I mean, that's absolutely an amazing thing that you guys are offering. Now, the thing also that is just amazing is how much storage does the average user get, and what is the expense associated with that?
Well, today, like with Mesh, we have a 5 gigabyte default cloud storage offering. What we also allow is if you have a lot of data, suppose you have a photo directory with tens of gigabytes, what you can do is you can say, hey, just synchronize this across my own devices. Don't put it up in the cloud.
Sure.
And that has a benefit of just using your own hard drives for storage, and also the benefit of your own hard drives probably have good network connectivity to one another, so they can move it around quickly. Mm-hmm. Once you start getting into multi-gigabyte sizes, there are real bandwidth constraints that are problematic. Moving 10 gigabytes to an internet server takes literally a couple days on typical broadband connections.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely incredible. What's the cost for all of these services?
There's no cost on Live Mesh, and we haven't figured out if we want to have other offerings, with more cloud storage, maybe for some monetization. We haven't figured that out. We're looking through the possibilities on doing that.
See, that's terrific. I mean, you're offering these services basically for free.
Yep.
That you can't beat free. Gee.
Yeah. Well, her motive there. Oftentimes, people ask me, why are you guys making this stuff available for free? What's in it for Microsoft? And really, the answer is quite simple. We know that there is a value to Microsoft by making it easy for people to own lots of computers. So by having this infrastructure and by making PCs more useful, we think we can grow the overall market. If each person wanted 2 or 3 computers, there's obvious ways that Microsoft stands to benefit there, because we hope to sell the operating system, for example, that those users will use on all those different devices.
And that's a really good point. I wouldn't mind having an additional laptop if I was able to synchronize all my data more easily. Yeah,
I hear that commonly. Like, maybe I'd buy a second computer. Laptops are cheap. You can get a good laptop for $500 or $600, a netbook for $300 today. But the constraint is less often the cost as opposed to the hassle of getting that computer with all the data you want consistently synchronized with all the applications you want. That's really hard for people today, and understandably so. So what we're hoping to do with some of this infrastructure is really lower those barriers to entry, just make it such that you as a user have a bunch of data, have a bunch of applications. You turn on a new machine, you say, I'm Lon, and give me my stuff, and then a little while later the computer is all configured with all your data constantly up to date, all your applications, no extra effort from you. So that's a place we expect to get to reasonably quickly with a lot of this infrastructure.
That's a really big deal. I mean, that is huge. Now, also, do you provide storage space and a website for photographs?
Yeah, now you're getting into the Windows Live areas, and that's something we're super excited about. Recently, we started rolling out what we call Windows Live Wave 3, which is the third major wave of our Windows Live infrastructure. And a lot of the work that we've done in Wave 3 is about making photo storage and sharing super, super easy. So specifically for photos, for example, with the new way we've connected SkyDrive with our photo offerings, we even have 25 gigabytes of storage with that. Wow. And we're making it really easy for users to upload their photos with the Photo Gallery client. We're making it really easy for users to share photos with their friends with a lot of the social networking capabilities that we have in Windows Live Wave 3. So we're pretty excited about the offerings that we have there. And
of course, that's free as well?
Yes.
Jeez. I mean, can you imagine what 25 gigabytes of storage space just a few years ago would have cost the average user?
I know. One of the trends in the computing industry is the sort of decrease in cost per byte of storage, and it's just an amazing trend. Roughly faster than Moore's Law. Moore's Law in the dimension of transistors in CPUs and the like is continuing on. We're getting doubling of transistors every 18 or so months. But with storage, it's, for now at least, increasing at an even greater rate. Hard drives are gargantuan, 1.5 terabytes today. People tell me that within a few years we'll have 10 terabyte hard drives, which is just astonishing. And so what that's causing is this lowering of the cost curves, because even though the hard drives get bigger, in general, the prices all settle to around $100 or $80 for any given size, and so that's resulting in this tremendous lowering of cost per byte of storage, which is one of the key drivers that enables companies like Microsoft to supply this much online storage to our customers.
That's absolutely amazing. And yeah, with all this additional storage, we're storing a lot more data rather than cleaning it out the way we used to, which means that management is getting more
management,
difficult.
searching, those kinds of features, functionality become increasingly important as you get more and more stuff up there. Software has to make it easy for people to manage it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Now, you're also you work on Virtual Earth as well?
Yeah, I don't personally work super close with Virtual Earth, but it is one of our offerings as part of the developer platform, the services developer platform, and we know that there are many interesting scenarios that connect with things like mapping. And so the ability to do mashups with Virtual Earth and other data types is something that we know there's a lot of developer interest in, and it's a big part of the services platform.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's exactly where I was going, is this mashing up of other types of data. I mean, I just saw a commercial where you can check where your friends are, and who's online, and actually where they are geographically based on their GPS-enabled phones. So you're looking at this mashup of all different types of data as well?
Yeah, potentially. There's so many data types being stored. The platform philosophy that we have is always very open. Let people do what they think is most interesting with the applications that they build. So we think that tons and tons of different data types will be considered and used with infrastructure like Virtual Earth.
And I like the way that you're talking. It's kind of almost open source, that Microsoft has taken the attitude that here we've got all of these incredible resources. Why don't you come on in and let's see what we can do together?
Yeah, that's always a key part of any good platform. If platform vendors overly constrain what applications are allowed to do on that platform, we see that as a real challenge, basically. It frankly pisses off developers and pisses off users if there is a sort of big brother looking over their shoulder on, nice application, sorry, we're not going to let you do that because it competes with something we got. We think it's really important that the platform be freely usable, that developers can build whatever they want on top of that platform without some interested and potentially conflictedly interested party controlling what the developers can do on that platform.
Yeah, and that's true. And we've seen that in the computer industry ever since it started. I've been a developer with both Apple, I said a word, I'm sorry, as well as Microsoft since the mid-'80s. And that was one of Apple's biggest downfalls with the Macintosh, is they kept the architecture so close that developers wouldn't develop for it, and there was no software available or applications, so the product almost failed until they opened it up, and we just saw that recently with the iPhone apps. So this open architecture, this open source, I think it's really the way to go.
Yep, totally agree. Really, an open platform, a lot of the success of Windows, frankly, is the fact that it is so open. You can write any application you want on Windows. You can build any hardware you want for Windows. We don't try and control that ecosystem excessively. And so by being very open, it's really sort of a core part of our platform philosophy that, let people build the kind of applications that they think make sense, and, the market will take care of selecting the winners, not Microsoft.
I like that. And I remember even 20 years ago, your operating system had Visual Basic built right into it.
Sure.
Yeah. Can you give me any specific business success stories, any companies that are using some of these tools and how they might be using them so that our listeners can kind of get an idea where to start?
Yeah. One thing about these platform offerings is they are pretty new. We have a big vision here, but it's early in the evolution of this platform. One success story that we talked about, an early one, is the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC. They had a really cool demo with us at the PDC we had last October, where they showed the use of some of the live framework technologies to enable sharing of videos across devices, across people. Some pretty cool things you could do with, rating the videos, getting to your friends, understanding better what kind of stuff your friends are looking at. So some pretty cool stuff going on with them.
That's pretty neat. So it's about getting all of this data and putting it in a format where people can actually access it and use it and benefit from it.
Yep, good way to put it.
Wow, cool. Is there any statistics at all on any of the different platforms? I know you're still pretty new, but is there anything that you can tell us about what your growth rate is or how many people are participating?
Well, one thing that we're looking at closely is the number of users who are using the live platforms in general. And the usage of this thing is, it's kind of astonishing when you think of the numbers. We have over 460 million active users of live services. Nearly 500 million people are using it at least monthly. So the usage is there. There's tremendous opportunity, tremendous adoption by some of these services. And so because of that, level of usage, that gives us a lot of optimism about where the platform is headed.
Wow, that's almost the population of the entire continent of North America.
Yeah, that's about right, yep.
That is absolutely amazing. Look at the services, though. They're terrific services, and you guys
are
thank
you. Glad you like them.
Free. Wow. If somebody wanted to get involved and look at all of the different type of services that Microsoft's making available, what's the best place to take a look?
Good question. Azure.com, azure.com. It enumerates all the different services, both at the live services level, which I've been talking about mostly, but also some of the lower-level services like Windows Azure, some of the enterprise services, the database services, end-to-end. Azure.com will get you going where you need to go.
Excellent. Because of the importance of this, I'm going to just say it a little bit slower. azure.com?
Right, azure.com.
Oh, that's great. That is totally cool. Is there anything else that you can think that might be important to our listeners to know about what you guys are currently doing and maybe what you're planning on doing?
I think that largely covers it, Lon.
Okay. Yeah, that was a lot of good information in a short
amount. Yeah, good stuff. Good questions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Good answers. That's the best part.
Thanks very much.
Okay. I'd really like to thank David Treadwell, Corporate Vice President of Microsoft's Live Platform, for being here with us today and talking about Microsoft Live Platform and social media. David, thank you.
Lon, thank you very much for the opportunity.
How cool is this? This has been Lon Safko, the co-author of the Social Media Bible. Be sure to check out our other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible book and its companion website at www.thesocialmediabible.com. For more information about me, Lon Safko, visit my site at www.lonsafko.com. And David, truly, thank you for taking the time for being with us here today.
You're quite welcome.